I am living proof that it is possible to change your careers without any previous background to the career that you're looking to get into. I have 10 tips that helped me change my career and I never looked back. First, you want to figure out what to do. And you're probably like, Mimi, that's why I'm here. I have no idea where to start. So I didn't really even know what I wanted to do, but I knew what I didn't want to do. I knew what I hated in the career that I was doing at that time. So I want you to grab a notebook, carve out a good chunk of time, maybe on your weekend or after work, and literally write down everything you dislike about your job. Then even started circling my non-negotiable, like red flag deal breakers of things that I knew I hated that I never wanted to do again. I am not a math girl. So after that whole process, it comes a little bit more naturally to start thinking about the things that you do like. And if you go back to the basics and just tap into your inner child, think about what you wanted to be when you were growing up. For me, I excelled in English, baby. I was like the best reader. And so for me, maybe journalism was a good career. But this can be anything. For example, I loved working with people, but I really loved more of like the health and wellness side of things. And so one thing I even thought about was acupuncture. Trick to this is not to dwell on one career and get into that rabbit hole yet. For example, I was like, okay, acupuncturist could be cool, but I've only gone to one acupuncture session myself. So don't start thinking about like the money and how long it would take. Just back to basics, think one type of career that fits your inner child. Now, if you're still like, I don't get it, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm still really stuck, that's okay. I have another step for you. And the second step is learning about yourself. If the previous activity didn't get you much, there are really cool tests out there to kind of learn a little bit more of yourself and your personality style. So we have things like the Enneagram test, which is a personality test. We have Myers-Briggs, and it tells you your results at the end. It also tells you what celebrities match your style. By the way, I'm an INFJ, which is like on the rare side. Now there's more career focused ones. For instance, when I first joined one of my companies, they had me take a Gallup strength test. It actually used to be called Clifton Strength Finder, but it basically measures the intensity in each of the 34 strengths. After you've taken these tests, one, it's really cool to see your personality like on paper. It's really cool to see that you have these amazing strengths that are unlocked potential. And I think from there, that can help jog a little bit more inspiration on things you want to do. For example, on a Gallup strength test, let's just say your top strengths don't involve relationship building. That's when you kind of know, maybe I'm not meant for like a customer spotlight kind of job. Maybe I'm meant for something more like strategic thinking or analytical type strengths in the background. At this point, you have a little bit more inspiration on what you're looking for. Take all the different careers that you've considered, put them in like a short list, start writing them out. And honestly, the world is your oyster. Do not limit yourself to maybe only corporate careers. Don't limit yourself to only freelance careers. Like literally put all different types of varying careers, from like being a chef to being an executive assistant to being a software engineer. Just get it all out. All right, from there, it's time to get to your computer. It is time to just be your computer warrior self and start getting in that rabbit hole. Take your entire list and start Googling them. Try and figure out, what do they do? How do you get there? How much money do they make? What's the work-life balance? Anything that fits your lifestyle or your financial goals, start looking it up. This is where you like carve out time to really get in that rabbit hole, where you're just like, you lost the track of time. You're basically in a casino. You have no idea where the clock is because you are deep in that rabbit hole. You have one career that leads into another, to another, to another, careers that you didn't even have on your list, but you're kind of interested in. Write them down. Fourth step is networking. Now you can go the traditional route of networking and take like your top 3 careers that you've thought of so far and go to like a convention in your local city. But to be honest, me being a little bit more of an introvert, I am not a huge fan of going to like big, large crowd things. I get a little bit of like the anxiety shivers of like having to do small talk. But some people thrive on that, and I am very jealous and I admire those people. If you want to go the route that I did, my best advice for you is hide behind your screen. And the best place to do that is LinkedIn. It's time to get your lurking on. You're gonna start messaging all these people, and it's okay, get over it. People message each other on LinkedIn all the time, even if they're strangers. But a better tip is to start thinking of the people that you know in your life, whether those are colleagues you've worked with in the past, best friends, mom's friend of someone, and look to see if they have any connections with the job role that you're looking at. Honestly, I used to be kind of embarrassed about telling people that I was looking to change careers and that I was possibly interested in becoming a scuba diver or an acupuncturist. If I hadn't have told people, I would have never had the opportunity to actually talk to a real life journalist. Because the more people you tell, the more likely that word of mouth will get around and they might go, oh yeah, my mom's best friend's daughter is actually a journalist at the New York Times. Hello, that is gold. No one can help you if you don't tell anyone. Step number 5 is upskilling. It took me about 6 months to get the courage to be like, okay, I picked my one career that I'm gonna go 100% into. I did so much research of watching like YouTubes of day in the lives. By the way, I have those for UX design, a ton of different articles on Medium, to talking to different UX designers, going on Instagram, going on TikTok. Actually, TikTok didn't exist back then. That was pre-pandemic. But becoming a UX designer, I knew that there was going to be some hard skills that I had no experience in. So then I started researching what's the best avenue to do this. Is it self-taught? Is it a boot camp? Is it going back to school? And I ended up going with a boot camp. If you're interested and you happen to want to go into UX design and it's an option, feel free to check them out in my descriptions below. So I took a few months to learn UX hard skills. Honestly, up until this point, I would say that is like the funnest part about changing careers, is exploring and meeting people and figuring out like that you can really do anything if you put your mind to it. I would say this is the hardest part, is really getting out there and getting a job. So step number 6 is updating your resume. Now, I totally get the intimidation of trying to convince an employer that they should take a chance on you when you don't have real world experience. I've been through it myself, and yes, it can be really disheartening. But all I can say is please do not give up. And there are a ton of different creative ways to get your foot in the door, even if it means getting unpaid for a few months. And that brings me to my next point. Number 7 is reviewing your financials. Now, this doesn't have to be step by step. Honestly, at some point, you really should think about your financials and look at the salary for each of these careers and make sure it really does fit your lifestyle. And don't make the same mistake I did, because the one thing that I wish I did was take a little bit more time to save money before embarking on a career change. Mainly because I believe that you have a higher chance of getting a role if you're more flexible and open to any type of position. In my experience, I became a UX intern and I wasn't paid for 2 months, which is kind of scary, but I was willing to take that risk because I felt like at that time that was the only way for me to get into the industry. I didn't feel like with the experiences that I had at that time that any employer was just going to hire me and I just easily become a UX designer overnight. For me, that just wasn't realistic. But because of that, I was feeling a little tight on my budget, and I was like, you know what? If I took a little bit more time to save up more money, or save even better and really think about like my financial plan for the next few months, it would have felt a little bit more reassuring. Now, number 8 is kind of the same thing, but being open to different types of opportunities. It's really easy to be like, well, I've been in the same career for 10 years. Wherever I go next, I'm just gonna slide in and it's gonna be okay. I'm gonna tell you the honest truth, and it is not easy. You can't just do an overnight switch, unless of course you're going into a career that's very similar in industry. But something like for me, I went in from customer service to becoming a designer. So that's more of those like soft skills versus hard skills that you need to know. And I had to really prove myself. It's kind of also thrilling to be like, you know what? These things can come in very unexpected places. And that's kind of just the going with the flow nature of it. Trust me, I am type A. Going with the flow is not easy, but this is a really good way to grow and challenge yourself. For instance, for me, I ended up going to a small agency local to where I live. There's maybe 8 people that work there, and they were looking for a UX intern. And when they were interviewing for a UX intern, I remember going in and seeing the people that would come out, and I was like, wow, these people are 22, 23, and I am older than that, and I am a little bit embarrassed. But you really shouldn't be. And you can tie so many of the things that you did in your previous career to the one that you're trying to get to. What's so cool is that there were people in my boot camp who came from so many different backgrounds, from like a school teacher, I think there was a pianist, and you just really have to learn to tie your current talents and your skills to that next career. Now, number 10 is the most important one, and that is to trust yourself. Depending on what your career you're looking to go into, I will not sugarcoat it. It is not going to be a walk in the park, unless of course, like I mentioned, it's in the same industry. There are definitely moments where I was second guessing myself and I was like, did I just waste all of this money Am I wasting time for a mistake that I'm just going to repeat all over again? But I can guarantee you, if you put in the work and as you're learning, you're like, you know what, this excites me. This is different from what I'm doing today. And you're just making a change in general, honestly, I applaud you. A lot of people out there are unhappy in their current careers and they feel stuck, and a lot of people don't do anything about it. So the fact that you're even showing up and going through these steps and thinking about changing your career is such an accomplishment in itself. Hope my experience can teach you that this is absolutely possible, and thanks so much for watching. Bye.